Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my craft room. I'm so glad to have you all here today. I am fresh off of a trip from Florida for a quick weekend to see all the great new stuff that is coming out in the arts and crafts materials world, and it's going to be a great year. Oh, everyone, I'm so glad to be back with you. We are in week 2 of our Stamp Focus Challenge, where we are working with a beautiful stamp set from Picket Fence. We're working with the Walk, Crawl, or Run stamp set. And we are moving into our second project this week. All of our challengers got their techniques on Tuesday, and they've been working on them so we can put them into practice today. Let's take a look at some quick announcements while we get started here. If you're new to my channel, of course, I'd love for you to say hello. You're welcome to lurk, but if you feel like it, go ahead and pop a hello into the chat and tell us where you're from. We've got all sorts of people from all around the world joining us today. So as a reminder, if you do want to join the challenge, the registration is still open. We are just starting, well, kind of in the middle of week 2, but you can always catch up with week 1. You're going to have access to all the materials after the challenge is over. So plenty of time to go back and take in everything that you might have missed. So go ahead and join us. We are a wonderfully crafty group. Everyone is sharing all of their progress and supporting each other as we go, giving tips and tricks on what's helping us along the way. So if you feel like you're a stuck crafter and you're just kind of wondering how you can get those wheels started, joining the challenge is really a great way to go. So go over to join.bloomcrafters.com/challenge and check it out and join us. Okay, so I've got some announcements. I told you last week that our May topic is going to be hot foil. Well, I've also nailed down our topics for both June and July. So the June topic is going to be wax mediums, because wax mediums are very, very popular right now. They're very hip and trendy, and I've had some from Prima Arts for a while, their Finna Bear line, and it's really, really cool. I did something really neat with it, but I'm going to share with you some other waxes from across the industry so we can check out how they're same, how they're different, how they can all be used. So you can add some glitz and glimmer using waxes in your craft projects. So that's going to be June. And then in July, get ready to pull out your gel press, because we're going to be doing gel press all month long, and we're going to have a great time with that. So there we go. All sorts of great things. So Kathy says that she caught me on someone's video while I was in Florida. Either Erin Reed, she was of course walking around doing tons of video. Let's see, Cassie Trask was doing videos too, and so was Maker Forte. So you might have caught me on Maker Forte because we were like simulcast doing video together. It was really kind of funny. I'm not sure if they cut that part or not. Anyway, we had a great time. So let's see what else is out there. If you don't have my technique freebie, it's an easy way to get on my mailing list so you know about all the great stuff that is coming up in my crafty world. It will give you all sorts of great techniques and technique sheets to start your own technique binder if you haven't already through our challenge. As always, crafty sales are going on. There's all sorts of crafty sales going on this week as per usual, and that page is always updated. So bookmark it, check it before you do some shopping, and make sure that you get the best deals possible. As always, I love to see what you guys are creating. I'm going to show you some projects from our challenge here in a minute, and it's because they tagged me at Nicole Creates on Instagram, and when I see your projects, I go ahead and leave some comments and share them sometimes, and I also share them here. So don't forget to tag me when you've created something that's been inspired by what I share with you here on the channel. As always, I appreciate everything you guys do for me to help support this channel and keep it running. So when you use the links down below to do your crafty shopping, those are affiliate links. That means that I might get a small commission, always at no additional cost to you. And as I always say, this is a great way to support crafters in the industry, is to use our affiliate links. So that way we can get just a little bit back from all the content that we're putting out there for you for free. Of course, you can always support me directly with a tip jar. That's just a PayPal button that will take you over to PayPal to send me a cup of coffee to keep this channel running. I appreciate it. So hey, let's take a look at our new subscribers. Thank you to everybody. My channel keeps growing and growing. Thank you to all of these people who subscribed in the last week. There may have been more. I can't run all of them, unfortunately. It just kind of tops off at like 25 or something like that, but I think I actually had more subscribers than 25 in the last week. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. All right, I see all sorts of people popping into the chat. Hello to everybody. We're always talking about the weather, and it's been crazy here in Nebraska too. Oh, let's look at cards to share. I love when I do this because it's like this inception thing going on. Let's take a look at some cards to share. All right. So these are from challengers in the stamp challenge, and we've got this beautiful project, creative cards to use. She did, and she tagged me. She says, I wish you could see all the shimmer and shine. So I bet you there's like lots of copper and gold. I can kind of see a little bit here and there, but she did a beautiful job casing last week's card, and she really learned all of the different techniques with the saturated background. She got her nice curved sentiment in here, and her whitewash looks fantastic. It's super white. Great job. Okay, so then we've got Cece. She is a Bloom Crafter member as well as a challenge member, and she had a ton of fun with the projects this week. So not only did she create these two, so here's a before she painted the bottom, and then an after where she added in the whitewash, which is really, really beautiful. All right, but then she also shared with us this really great tip. And this is from Therese, an idea to cut these mats so that way you know what your card background is going to look like when you cut it down to the right size. And I think that's a really great idea, especially if you're creating a larger panel. You can decide exactly where you want to cut out your pieces because you've used these mats to really focus on where that's going to be. So great idea, and thank you for sharing, Cece. I appreciate that. And then of course we've got some finished projects from her. And here are some of those, and they look absolutely stunning. Again, she got a beautiful curved sentiment. She got some whitewash in there, and I love these backgrounds. Look at that. Isn't that a gorgeous rainbow? It is beautiful. Excellent, excellent work. All right, and we got more. Here is Heather. She's stitching Lotus over on Instagram, and here are some before pics of some of her saturated backgrounds. Gorgeous work. And here's an after of one project and two projects that she did. They both look great. We've got a masculine and a floral. Excellent work. Love it. Thank you for sharing. All right. I love this one. She really went for it with the underwater theme. After putting together this beautiful saturated panel, Inky Scraps decided to add in her jellyfish because it just looked like the perfect underwater scene. So absolutely gorgeous. And she was able to post it into a challenge too. So that was awesome. There we go. All right. And we had Card Refinery, Rachel. She also posted some of her projects, and these look really great as well. Perfection on the techniques and getting everything incorporated into her project. So thank you to everyone for sharing. And we do have a challenge winner this week. These people are randomly selected from the challenge link up. And our challenge winner is Karen C. She is going to win a 3-month Technique Library subscription. Karen, I will get with you via email on the details on that. We'll be giving those out once the challenge is all complete. So that way you get access to all new techniques over those 3 months, not the techniques that we're doing this month too. So congratulations to Karen C. As you can see, if you are in the challenge, it pays to put your projects into the link up because you could be one of my winners. Awesome. All right. Can you hear the little frog in my throat? Yes. Well, that's what we like to call the convention crud. It's not COVID, I promise. I took a test. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else I needed to share? No, I think that's it. Let's talk about today's project. And here it is. So cute. You guys are going to love it. So our techniques this week, we're going to be doing the Pollock splatter technique. And we're also going to be doing some fussy cutting. Now, I love this project for fussy cutting because it's easy. If you are new to fussy cutting or you have a love-hate or a hate relationship with fussy cutting, this fussy cutting is actually easy. So we're going to have a good time with this one. It takes a couple of layers of the stamp embossed, and we're going to do some paper piecing. Now, doesn't it look like it's all one piece? It's not. It's paper pieced, and I'm going to show you some tricks on that as we cut all of our pieces out. Okay, so let's go down to the magic hands. Okay, so we're actually going to start by doing all of our heat embossing so we can get it out of the way. And another thing I really like about this project that I meant to point out is that I didn't keep the shoes the way they are, right? So this is how the stamp set comes with the shoes like this. And you might think, ah, that's nice, but what else am I going to do with these shoes? Well, if you cut them up, obviously you can get a little bit more diversity out of them. You can put them in a different direction. You can do all sorts of different things with them. All right, so don't think about these shoes as like a single piece. You know, a lot of times when we're using florals, we'll cut a floral out or something like that. Think about these shoes as two separate shoes too, because you can do that and end up with something really cool looking like these layered guys. Okay, so the great thing about this project is actually fairly straightforward. So we're going to start with heat embossing, and it's like a heat emboss palooza. I have 3 colors of cardstock here. There's this beautiful kind of dove gray. I have this aqua color. I think it's ocean. And then this one here, it's called Spicy Yogurt. It's by Altenew, and you can see it's got that little fleck in there, and it's not quite white. It's a little off-white. So all 3 of these is what we're going to use, and we're actually gonna use these 2 pieces again next week. So don't throw away your scraps. Don't throw away your scraps. Don't throw away your scraps. All right, we need them for next week. Okay, so I need to grab some anti-static powder. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always forgetting my anti-static powder. It's like the most important thing, and I'm always forgetting it. So this doesn't need a whole lot because we're just doing straight up embossing. There's nothing, I guess I can do it this way too. There's nothing special about this. Okay, so I meant to mark it up in Versamark, but I picked up my VersaFine Clair in Nocturne. And guess what? You can do this too. No big deal. And there we go. So sometimes it's really nice to use a pigment ink for your embossing ink because you can see that you've got everything. All right. I love VersaFine or Versamark, but you know, like say I got like this little bit right here that I want to redo. I wouldn't have known that if I had done just Versamark, right? So sometimes using the colored ink is helpful. All right, so, and this is a big stamp, as we know. We're not going to be able to use our magnet. So I predict that by the time I'm done with this and our live stream later, that I'm probably not going to have a voice for probably about a week. That's okay. All right, so the other great thing about using the color, beyond the fact that you can see where you may have missed, is that it also covers any mistakes. So if you miss your embossing powder somewhere, it's going to cover that up. All right. So there's number 1. I love it. It looks like a velvet painting right now. So pretty. All right. That one looks good. So I'm just going to ink these up all at the same time. And then we'll batch them up for heating too. I really don't have room for that. Okay. So we'll do number 2 and then number 3. Do you guys ever do this where you stamp everything at once and then heat emboss it once it's got the powder on it? Now I know you can't wait too long because the ink will eventually dry and the powder will just be sitting on top. But a lot of the times, if you're just going to do a couple of pieces, you can do it this way. And if you're using regular Versamark, you shouldn't have a problem with it drying before you get to it. I do that a lot around the holidays. I do like multiples, and so I'll do up all of my stamping and then get all of my embossing powder on and then heat it all up at the same time. All right. So there's number 2. All right. So challengers, did you have fun with last week's projects? Working on your saturated panel backgrounds. There were a lot of different stamp sets beyond just this one, which I thought was really nice. I enjoyed seeing all the different choices you guys made. All right, so there is number 2. All right, so Jessica says she has a bunch of black backgrounds to make cards with. Yeah, that technique is one of those ones where you're like, oh, this is so much fun, and you just keep going and going and going. That's a good time. Oh, and Karen got her stamp set on Tuesday. So now you can go back, and if you have any leftover panels, Karen, you can try your hand at the techniques from last week. Of course, move on to this week's. All right. Oh, Karen did already. That's awesome. She's addicted. That's good. Now you need to take some of those cards and pop them in the mail. All right. So once you have all 3 of your backgrounds done, or your sets of shoes done, I should say, that's all you need for shoes. All right. So I've got all of those. And that's it for embossing too. Okay, doke. So let's heat these up. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's think of a topic. Favorite color to heat emboss in? Let me know while this is going. All right, that was a marathon session. Guess what? Next week we won't have to do as much because we're going to save our scraps. If you missed it, guys, at the top of our project here, I'm going to remind you again, after we fussy cut, save your scraps. We're going to use some of these pieces next week. All right, so I know it gets kind of quiet. I should figure out how I can play some music while we are while I'm heat embossing. That would give you guys a little bit more to do. Let's see. All sorts of good comments here. You guys really enjoy black, which I totally agree. Black is just always so nice. It gives it that nice shiny effect. I love the metallics too, of course. I have become a fan of the Wow brand. I think they've got great embossing powders. Okay, now is the fun part, fussy cutting. So from each of these, we need specific parts. Oh, you know what? We need to do some splatter first. So can you see my chucks are dirty? They got paint splatters on them. So we're going to splatter those first so that they can sit and dry. I almost forgot. That would have been sad. Then we wouldn't have had Pollock splatter chucks. Okay, so one of the things that we learned this week was the Pollock splatter. And we're going to do a little side view here. And I did this in this order, so for time's sake, a lot of times I would just splatter the panel first and then do the heat embossing on top of it. But because of time, I wanted to make sure that I had the panel done. Okay, so sometimes I wear gloves, sometimes I don't. This is a time that it's good to wear gloves because when you're spraying into the cap, you might spray under your hand instead. We don't want to do that. Okay, so I have 3 different colors with me. I have Hickory Smoke Oxide, Crushed Olive Oxide, and the Picket Fence Oxide. Now the Picket Fence, spray stain, I don't think you can find this anymore. So if you have it, great. If not, if you have another white, or you can water down a little bit of gouache to do the same thing. But they all need to be shook up. So if you're using a color, or a darker color especially, you're going to want to use an oxide because they oxidate, right? So the color is going to, show up, right? Like this. If you use just a regular spray stain, it's going to blend in and it might not be what you want. So if all you have are spray stains that are transparent, you're going to want to use a lighter color paper to achieve your results. All right. So I love this technique. It's super fun and easy. We're going to use the cap. We're going to use our spray bottle. We're going to spray like twice. That's it. All right. And you see all of that. Look at that. Yum. Okay. Paint. This might be a lot for this, but I'm just going to flick it. You just flick it. And that's why you need a box. I put the paper down to absorb. All right. Just flick it. And if there's any excess in here, you can just kind of spray it out. So if you just do like one, especially on a smaller panel like this, you might get better results. All right, so we're just gonna flick it on there. So I recommend that you not put your cap back on because it's gonna leak out the bottom. Wash your caps and dry them before you put them back on your containers. All right, so ideally we want to dry in between. So let's just get a little dry on this. All right, so if you want to, pick up some of the splatter, you can with the paper towel. Let me grab one. So sometimes it depends on how dark your spray is. Like some of the regular spray stains are fairly dark when they come out of the bottle. And so if you do a technique like this, it will end up looking darker than you want it to. So you may want to sop some of it up as you go. All right. In this case, though, the oxide isn't so bad. So let's see. Lisa wants to know what's the key to getting smaller splatter drops. Less paint? Yes, absolutely. So this is the Hickory smoke. If I put just one spray in here, see there's not a lot of paint in there. That's going to help me get some smaller splatters. So the smaller splatters are going to come from like just the little tiny droplets that you have in your cap like that, right? So if you've got a pool of it in here, then you're going to obviously get a bigger blob. That's going to want to stay in its blob together and make one big splash versus anything that's on the side that's going to want to be smaller. All right, so this does not require a lot because it's a small image. In the technique video, we're creating this big panel, so you can really spray as much as you want. I think the perfect pearl sprays would absolutely work. Metallics on here probably would be really great. Kind of like using metallic watercolors on watercolor paper or colored paper works really well. I think that would look really cool. So absolutely give that a try. And I love that you guys are always saying that you appreciate that I mute when I use my heat gun, but it's actually not muting. It's the noise canceling in my microphone. It says no, and it cancels everything, so you can't even hear me talking. So that's why I'm like, oh, it's really quiet. But my members, when they get access to these videos, I edit them afterwards, and I edit out all of the heating, so you don't have to watch that part. All right, so this last one I'm doing is this Picket Fence, the spray stain. And this is kind of like an oxide because it's more opaque, so it stays white. And this is the one that we're always using for splatters and things like that. All right, so say you're not really happy with that. It doesn't matter because we're going to actually cut that out. So you don't have to worry so much about it. In this case, you just have to know what pieces you're going to be cutting out of your project here and where you might want a little bit more or less. There. All right, so just going to put a little bit of heat on this. All right, and then I'll pull up anything that's left over. There we go. All right, so this I'm going to set aside to dry. It looks lovely. Let's go back. There we go. Super awesome. It's all Pollock splattered. It needs just a little bit more dry time, but we're going to set this aside to dry while we do our fussy cutting. Our favorite thing to fussy cut. I know everyone hates fussy cutting. I started crafting in a world where all you could do was fussy cut because we didn't have dyes. So see, I got a little bit on here, but not a whole lot. This was not so bad. I reuse my gloves over and over and over and over and over again. So I will rinse them off and let them dry. and they'll be ready to go for next time. Until they start getting like holes in them and not actually protecting my hands like they're supposed to, then that's when I swap them out. Sometimes I swap one out before the other, so I have an old glove and a new glove. All right, time to fussy cut. Let's bring the zoom on in. There we go. Okay, so we need the toes for this project. Now, the great thing about fussy cutting after you've heat embossed is that this really gives you a great line for cutting. And you're just going to be able to follow right along that embossing line. And this makes it super easy. So if, as a member and a challenger, you've seen the technique video for this, we talk about getting your paper really deep down into the throat of your scissors and also moving the paper, not your scissors. So really the scissors are just opening and closing, but I'm moving the paper with my left hand to put it in the path of the scissor. All right. Now I am going to cut these guys in half, so I'm just going to go right down the center. All right, we can focus now on one. Now, when you're looking at your shoe as well, notice that some of this white stuff comes all the way down here into this area, this whole glazed area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the inside of the line here. And then when I get to the toe, I'm going to cut, you have a choice, either cut on the left or on the right. But we're going to be matching it up onto here. This is kind of like our base. So we're going to match it up onto here. And I don't want to have a double layer of embossing. So I'm going to cut on the inside of the embossed line. All right, so let's show you how that plays out. You really don't want to cut down the center. You want to cut down one side or the other. All right. So get rid of that. So I'm going to come up like right about here. And I'm cutting on the outside there, outside, outside, outside. All right, and now I'm going to cut on the inside. Just because I know that when I go to glue this down, it's going to glue down better. All right, and then, so there we go. I have a toe of my shoe. Okay. What am I supposed to do with this piece? Let's see if anyone's listening. All right. So we'll work on the other one. Now this one you can see too, this is a side, this is a part of the white wall. So we want to keep this little bit right here. And then again, I'm going to cut on the inside. All right, Kathy Wise got it. You're supposed to save your scrap. We're going to use it next week. Someone's going to throw them away. I know it. All right, so here, again, I'm going to just kind of cut up the side and keep all of that embossing. And then when I get to the inside here, we're going to go on the inside and cut all the embossing out. Right, and then go. All right. Number 2, pieces to save. Set aside, put in the safe place. Now the scrappy scraps, like these little outside pieces, those are tossable. We will not be used these. All right. I'm glad you guys like those tips on the fussy cutting and the fussy cutting words. Yeah. Now you want to know, don't you? Are you in the challenge? Join. You can still join. Okay, so we got our toes. Toes are done. So what we're going to do is those are going to get glued onto the correct toe. But you see how this is going to fit right in there? And if it isn't going to fit perfectly, I'll show you just a little bit of a secret. Okay. Oops, see, it was still a little wet and I'm getting it on my hands. Okay, so the more challenging one is going to be the shoes themselves, the laces. Okay, so we don't need to worry about saving the body of these. We need to save, what do we need to save for these? I'm trying to think of what we use for this for next week. I might have to go look. I don't know where it is. I don't know where my sample went. Oh well, I guess I'll have to save it all. I'm pretty sure it's not the actual shoe itself. Because we're going to kind of destroy this as we go. So from this, I want the laces. And the laces can be a little tricky. So we're always going to go on the outside. Oh yes. So we're going to use the toes next week, and we're going to use the white laces next week. So you can destroy the bodies of these. That's right. I was thinking funny. Okay, so we don't need the little circles. Those we're going to just use the blue that's on your, whatever your main cardstock is. So you just have to kind of figure out where the laces are. Now the tricky part is you see this lace right here? It comes underneath. So that's part of the lace right there. This lace does not come underneath. There's no line here. So this part we're going to cut out. So you just kind of have to look at how the laces are actually laced to get an idea of where you need to cut. All right. So this is kind of a Zen thing, right? You can be doing this in front of the TV. Just, you know, don't cut your hand off. Don't cut your fingers off. Oh, so Trisha notes, and this is true, I am left-handed. And she says, I cut with my right hand. That is because left-handed scissors are awful. If you're a lefty out there and you struggle with cutting, it's because left-handed scissors just really hardly ever, if ever, work. I've never found a pair that actually works. So I trained myself to be able to cut right-handed. I would never ask anyone to cut left-handed. It's so hard. They just don't, I don't know why, but they just don't work as well. You would think that it would be easy to just flop things around and allow them to cut, but no, that's not the case. Okay, so when things get difficult, if you can, like in this case, we know we're not going to use the body of the shoe, you can just cut pieces out to make it easier. It's always easier to work with a smaller piece so that you're not like trying to finagle your hand around. So you see, and I do this all the time. Sorry, guys. I get caught up in the fussy cutting piece of it and I forget that I'm on camera. And it's hard to keep it in the center here. Especially as I'm getting older, I'm noticing like I want to look closer. So maybe I need some reading glasses. All right, so again, like this little spot right here, there's no lace there. It's actually the tongue of the shoe. And it doesn't, you might not think, oh, it makes a difference now, but it will make a difference when you put everything together. Ooh. All right, and so then we also need to cut this little bit there. All right, so there's your lace. Now there is a little spot right here that is not a part of the lace. If you want to get really picky, you can cut it out with a little X-Acto knife. Because you will actually see the color through that. All right, so there you go. There's one shoelace. We want to save the toe. So again, we can kind of come around here and cut this out if you want. So these are the pieces you need to save for next week. You need to save the laces from your white shoes and the toes from your gray shoes. All right, save these. All right, so now we can cut this guy out. Like I said, this is the easiest fussy cutting ever because there's a really nice line that embossing always gives you. It's kind of like this little edge that helps you to butt your scissors right up against it. And it makes it easier to fussy cut. All right. Yeah, Sue, that's true too. For a lot of people, there weren't left-handed scissors back in the day either. Well, you learned how to do everything right-handed usually. There are a lot more left-handed people out there than we know because they were forced to become righties. So this is the only thing I think I do right-handed because I don't like when I'm cooking, I don't cut with my left hand with a knife. I don't chop with my left hand or right hand. I chop with my left hand. So like really cutting is just about the only thing I do. Oh, poor Anne. Anne is recovering from some hand surgery. And she says she needs a left-handed pen. I don't know if that would help. So once you have all these pieces fussy cut, like next week you'll see, it'll be really easy to put together the project because you'll have those extra pieces already done. And fussy cutting them, you could have them done ahead of time if you want. You can fussy cut the shoelaces and the toes for next week. You don't have to leave them. They can be done. All right, and so again, this one's got a little spot right there that needs to be, or can be, I should say, cut out. You can leave it. You can color it in with a marker. Do whatever you'd like. I like to just pop it out with my knife. And, oh, there it is. Okay. On to the next trick. Okay, so once you have fussy cut these, if you've done them in black, grab yourself a black Sharpie or another black marker that has a really nice felty side that you can go ahead and go around the edges and color them in. Why am I doing this? Because it's going to hide any imperfections that you may have had in your cutting. So like this edge right here, that's going to butt up against that embossed edge on the rest of the project. Now it's going to look nice and seamlessly black. All right. I like to use a Sharpie. You can use any kind of pen that you like, preferably one that's not going to bleed too much into the paper because we don't want it to bleed too much. But see, look at, let's see if you can tell the difference. Can you see? You can kind of see the difference. You see how that's nice and black all on the edge there, and this one's got that little white. It makes a difference, guys. Details, 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 details. You see like this little spot right here that I didn't cut so well? Once I put the black marker on that, it's going to look fabulous. All right. See, now you can't even see it. And I'm not worried about the stamp that ends here because we're going to cut that off. Come around a little edge here. Be careful with your little teeny pieces like this. You don't want to pull them off or bend them or twist them. I should do some before and after pictures so that you can see that, yes, this truly does make a difference. I mean, I know you saw it in the sample there as I was holding them both, but when you see them on a project, it does make a difference too. So this, what you're going to do is same thing. We want to grab all those edges because we don't want it to have like this little gray halo around it up against the green. You may see it, or you might see some black embossing underneath it from the green piece, right? So we want it all to look nice and solid. And look, it takes me an extra minute to do this. The color doesn't have to be perfect. So say you're using gold embossing. The pen doesn't have to be like a perfect match in gold. It just needs to be like a brown. And if you're doing silver, do a gray. Just something to help make that contrast less. Make it blend. Yep. This is an oldie but goodie, good hack. All right, so when you cut, be careful. This particular shoelace is held on by a thread, by a string, shoestring. Haha, funny. All right. There. Okay. Done. All right, so let's see. Let's just hit this with a little heat. Yeah, who knew, Sue, that I had like an army of lefty followers? That's awesome. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is cut out the actual shoes themselves. And like I said, we're going to be building on these green splattered shoes. And as you know from the project, they are going on a white background. So we can just cut these out. You don't have to be as exact because, at least around the toe, because that's going to get covered. I'm coming in straight up the center here. No need for any ceremony there. I'm just cutting the shoes in apart. All right, so there's shoe number 1. And here comes shoe number 2. And 3 cheers for our pal Anne, who got good news today that her hand is healing. We know she hasn't been crafting much lately because she had an infection. Oh, it was a mess. But we're glad that she's on the mend. All right, so same thing goes for these guys. You can go around the edges with them if you want, especially around the toe area, because we're going to be putting those 2 pieces of cardstock together there. And that's kind of a good idea. Help them look seamless. So there we go. You see how messy that is on the back? Who cares, right? It's going to get covered. So I'm always edging my marker, angling it towards the back, so that way I don't like accidentally come across the front and go bloop, because then you've ruined your project. So always kind of angling it towards the bad side. There we go. All right. So now we can just do some assembly. We've got all of our pieces. I'm like zoomed in almost as far as we can go, people. Okay, so that's going to go there. This is what really brings this to life, is once you've got, that is the wrong, that goes there, that goes there. See, now you got like nice clean laces, nice clean tops. All right, so make sure that you get enough glue here. I'm going to use my finger to smear it a little bit because I don't want it to gush out. I get it nice up on the edge there, especially right around this edge here. All right, and this is going to go, remember we cut on the inside of this heat embossing here, so it's going to go right up against that. So this is good old paper piecing. That's what this technique is called. And it's just when you cut your stamped images and piece them on top of each other to make a cohesive look. A lot of times we do this if we want something patterned, right? So here we go. Then we're going to put our shoelaces in place. Again, this is going to really bring the shoe to life, right? Because previously it was kind of like, oh, one dimension, there's all the same color. You've got this splatter that's going directly over the laces and things like that. But once you've got your paper pieced parts, say that 5 times fast, paper pieced parts in place. It adds just a little bit of like micro dimension. But then because of the color change, you've got that extra pop. So that looks like a shoe. See the difference? Meh. Awesome. Okay. So again, just a little bit. Make sure you get all of this glued up on these edges. The secret to good paper piecing is to make sure that it is secured down everywhere and that you don't have it popping up to make it look like you can see what's underneath it, right? Oh, Cece's never done paper piecing. That's another back in the day kind of thing. We used to do a lot because we didn't have dies to make things interesting. So we used a lot of patterned paper and paper piecing. For those of you who are doing florals, this is where I think paper piecing gets really interesting. You can create like a patchwork floral by using different patterns or different colors, different textures, you know, glitter papers or vellums, or in this case, we've got our splattered background. You can make a really interesting looking floral that way. But if you have lots of petals, maybe don't die cut everything. Or I mean, don't fussy cut everything. Maybe cut 1 or 2 petals and add them in as an accent. Just kind of play around with it. Don't make it too overwhelming where you're like trying to cut everything. See, there we go. 2 shoes. Here's a great thing. We have 4 minutes left in our hour together. And the rest of this comes together really easy. Oh, you know what? I didn't want to zoom out so much. Okay, so I am using this little teeny tiny stamp that says follow your dreams. I mean, like, you need reading glasses for that, no matter what. It's the smallest follow your dreams ever. And this little teeny tiny block that it's going to go on. And I've got my card base. Okay, so nice clean card base because we're not going to put anything else on this. So this is where you want to arrange your shoes. Like I said, because we've got like this little spot here that it the stamp ended, we want to make sure that that's going to come off the end. So we want kind of our shoe to go like that. And then the bottom one, we want to make sure that there's enough room for the words to go around both the top here and the side. So like the words are going to come around the top and the side. So I'm going to use some temporary tape to put these down. You know, so this one, actually, you can even just go straight across if you want to make it easy on yourself. Like that. So this one could actually be glued down 100%. Let's just make sure. Yep, we've got plenty of room on the side here. I want to make sure that it's not coming right up to the edge. So let's show you guys what that looks like. There we go. So you see how the words are going to go there, but there's still a little bit of space here. That's good. So I can actually glue this one down. Yeah, see, the layout is different from the stamp because we cut the shoes apart. We cut the shoes apart. All right, so I can put this guy down flat like this. This one's going to end up getting popped up underneath. It can go like so, but it actually needs to come down so we can go across the top. So I'm going to back this off a little bit. And I am going to glue down, but just the bottom. All right, so here's just a little bit of glue right here. And we're just going to glue down like so. All right, so shoes totally cut up, ready to go. We're going to stick a piece of foam under here when we're done. VersaFine Clair. So this is why maybe you want to use your VersaFine Clair because you already have it out for your heat embossing. And then you don't have to get out your Versamark too. Okay, so this is a little teeny tiny stamp. And last week we did stamp bending to get it around an image. Now this would be like a whole lot of measuring and stamping and measuring and stamping. So I'm trying not to, I'm gonna kind of eyeball it. It's a small stamp. It's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's gonna come, when it comes around the toe, you're gonna wanna watch it a little bit more. Let me see. I just want to see if this, is that helpful? No, yeah, maybe. Okay, so this is a teeny tiny stamp. Teeny tiny, follow your dreams. All right. As you're coming around, you're saying, oh, I need to curve this a little bit. So I'm just going to take it and bend it a little bit with my hand. And I'm leaving a little space in between each. So again, bend it with your hand. You might want to have a little towel because look, I'm getting ink on my fingers. All right, I did much better on my sample. And it's because I was actually like standing over it like so. All right. So as you can see, I've got a few little whoopses there that I'm not quite excited about. All right. Again, we're just going to bend this a little bit to get started, just a little bit. Now I've got it bent a little bit more in the center. It really does help to get right over it. And then I'm going to run out of space here. So I'm going to take a scrap. You can have, you know, just have a scrap of cardstock here. Just as a kind of a makeshift mask. All right, just to block that right in the middle. All right, so I'm not too excited about these guys over here. have to think about that, how I would fix that. All right, but in the meantime, probably would do it over again, to be honest with you. I'm going to take a journaling pen and just put some dots in the center. Right. And the last thing is to just get some foam in there. I have this ginormous roll of 1.5 or 2-inch foam that I don't use very often. But I put it right under the toe. And just, so this bottom part is glued. The top part is popped up now. And then I can take my scissors and there we go. Just trim off the edge. And that's it. This is a, let's see, what size the white base is. It's a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So a typical A2 size card. So see, there you go. And yeah, I have a little bit of a mess there, but it's not too bad. Now that I've got the little dots in there, it doesn't look near as bad as it did. All right, it says follow your dreams. And it's one of the stamps that's included in the set. See how I did this one? I got the toe too close, so it came around the edge and the words came off. So if that happens to you, there's an option for how you handle that. You just take it off the page and it's just fine. All right, so there you go. Ta-da! Gorgeous project for this week. All right, guys. So there we go. That's it. That is our project for this week. We've learned all sorts of really great techniques. We talked about a little bit of fussy cutting, easy fussy cutting. We talked a little bit about the Pollock splatter technique, which is awesome. And just a little bit of fun stamping, a little bit of curved accents going on there. So give that a try. Don't be too hard on yourself. As you can see, even experts like me make mistakes. So, you know, you can either try it again, you can cover it up. That's always what sequins are really great at, right? So just kind of depending on where you've got that, you might be able to pop a sequins over that and hide it for everyone. Anyway, guys, I'm so glad you all joined me today. If you loved today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you need to do any shopping this week, don't forget to use my affiliate links down below. I truly appreciate it. For everyone who is a part of the challenge, I will see you in about 25 minutes over on Zoom. For those of you who have problems joining last week, if you go, you should be getting emails about it. If not, go to the Zoom page where it's up on our challenge dashboard and wait until 5:30, and then it should switch over to a button that says join now, and just click join now. If it doesn't switch, just click the button anyway and it will join you up with our live stream at 5:30. So I will see all of my challengers soon over on our live stream. And for everyone else, I will be back here next Thursday running with scissors again with our wonderful stamp set of the month from Picket Fence. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful weekend and happy crafting.